The morning sunlight crept through the thin white curtains, brushing gently over to Diep's face as she stood by the window, gazing into the misty horizon. Outside, the countryside was slowly awakening, the sound of roosters crowing, the soft rustle of leaves in the wind, and the smell of freshly cut grass. It was peaceful, yet inside her heart, there was a storm of emotions. Diep had never imagined she would one day become the co-founder of a company. Not as a secretary, not as an assistant, but as the boss, side by side with James, the man she loved and respected most. The name of their new company, Diep and James, had been officially registered just a few days ago. To others, it might have been a small achievement, but to them, it was the rebirth of everything they had lost. James had once fallen hard, betrayed by partners, abandoned by investors, and nearly destroyed by his own family's decisions. Yet, when he looked into Diep's eyes, he found the strength to start again. She had stood beside him when everyone else doubted him, and now she was ready to carry part of that burden. That morning, James arrived at the small wooden house they shared on the edge of the village. His car was covered in dust from the long country road, but his eyes were bright, full of hope. He stepped out, holding a small box in his hands. "It's official," he said with a grin. "DJ is registered. We're in business, Diep." Diep froze for a second, her lips parting slightly in disbelief. Then, a smile bloomed on her face, radiant like the morning light spilling into their home. "We really did it, James," she whispered, her voice trembling. "After everything, we finally did it." James nodded, his expression softening. "We did it together," he said, his hand brushing a stray strand of hair from her cheek. "And this time, no one can take it away from us." They stood there in silence for a moment, listening to the sounds of life outside. A child's laughter, a passing bicycle, the chirping of birds. The world seemed ordinary, yet for them, it felt like the beginning of a miracle. Diep looked toward the horizon again, her heart steady and determined. "Failure or rich," she thought, "it doesn't matter. What matters is that we have each other, and that we're brave enough to try again." That morning, as James and Diep shared a cup of warm tea by the window, their reflections merged in the glass. To people, one dream, and a promise that whatever the future brought, they would face it together. The first week of running DJ Company felt like stepping into a storm that neither James nor Diep had prepared for. Their small office, a renovated room beside the old marketplace, smelled faintly of fresh paint and new beginnings. There were only 3 desks, 2 computers, and a vision that seemed too big for such a small space. Diep sat by the window every morning, her laptop open, stacks of papers surrounding her like an army waiting for command. She was new to business, but her heart was steady. She learned how to contact farmers, how to register supply contracts, and how to write proposals. That sounded confident, even when her hands trembled on the keyboard. James, meanwhile, was constantly on the move, meeting old partners, trying to rebuild the trust he once lost. Some doors closed on him with cold politeness, others with bitter memories. But every evening, when he returned to the office and saw Diep still there, her hair tied back, eyes tired yet shining, he felt the fire reignite inside him. "Did you eat anything today?" he asked one night, leaning against the doorframe. Diep looked up, startled, her fingers frozen mid-type. "Not yet. I was just finishing this report." James chuckled softly and placed a box of warm rice on her desk. "You can't run a company on an empty stomach, Boss Diep." She smiled shyly, taking the box. "You sound more like my mother than my business partner." "Maybe," he said with a grin, "but I don't want the CEO fainting before our first investor meeting." They ate together under the dim light, the room filled with quiet comfort. Outside, the street vendors were closing their stalls, their laughter fading into the night. Inside that tiny office, dreams were being built with late nights and simple meals. The next morning, Diep received their first call, a local farmer named Mr. Fan who wanted to partner with them to sell organic oranges. Her hands shook slightly as she answered, but her voice was calm. "Yes, Fan. We would be honored to work with you." When she hung up, she turned to James, her face glowing. "Our first client," she whispered. James stood frozen for a moment, then broke into a grin. "You did it, Diep. We did it." They high-fived like children, laughing louder than they should have. It wasn't a big deal to anyone else, one client, one small step, but for them, it was a symbol of survival. Later that day, James took Diep to the field to meet the farmers. The sun was blazing, the soil warm under their feet. As she bent down to touch the young orange saplings, Diep's eyes softened. She could already imagine the fruits, hanging heavy under the sunlight, each one a promise of a better tomorrow. Standing behind her, James watched quietly. "You were born for this," he said softly. Diep turned, smiling, her face glowing in the golden light. "No, James, we were born for this." The wind brushed through the orange leaves, carrying with it the scent of earth and hope, the smell of something just beginning. The sun had barely risen when the first problem arrived. A supplier called. His tone hesitant but firm. The contract for fertilizer delivery was canceled. The reason? Unstable financial background. James froze. He knew this was John's doing. The rival company had spread rumors that DJ Company was built on debts and empty promises. Diep was sitting at her desk when she overheard the news. The pen slipped from her hand. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, quietly, she stood up and walked to the window. The morning light fell on her face, calm but pale. "So this is how it begins," she whispered. James ran his hand through his hair, frustration heavy in his voice. "I thought once we started fresh, people would give us a chance. But John, he's everywhere. He's trying to crush us before we can even breathe." Diep turned to him, her eyes soft but determined. "We knew it wouldn't be easy, James. Success doesn't come wrapped in ribbons." She paused, then added, "Let's show them who we are, not who they say we are." That day, they worked harder than ever. Diep called every farmer, every small business she knew, reassuring them, explaining, pleading with quiet strength. James drove miles through the countryside, shaking hands, promising to deliver on time no matter what. But the week grew darker, rain poured for days, flooding the roads, deliveries were delayed. And one night, their small office roof started leaking. Papers got wet, computers flickered, and Diep, exhausted, sat on the floor with tears she tried to hide. James found her there, holding ruined documents against her chest. For a second, he didn't know what to say. Then he sat beside her, his arm brushing hers. "It's okay," he murmured. "We can print them again." Diep shook her head. "It's not just the papers, James, it's everything. What if we're not meant to make it?" He took her hands, firm but gentle. "Listen to me. You are the reason this company exists. You make me believe we can start again every single day." Her tears fell silently, but she nodded. The next morning, despite the rain, they stood outside the office with buckets, collecting the leaking water, laughing through the exhaustion. "Look at us," Diep said between giggles. To CEOs fighting a storm with buckets. James laughed too. Maybe that's what leadership means, holding buckets when no one else will. That same day, an unexpected call came. A local supermarket chain had seen Diep's proposal online. They wanted to test DJ Company's produce, a small order, but a chance. The following weeks felt like a quiet sunrise after a long storm. DJ Company began to breathe again. The supermarket chain that had given them a chance was pleased with their products, fresh, clean, and organic. They signed a second contract, larger this time. Diep's name slowly appeared in local newspapers. Young woman turns farmland into future. The story behind DJ Company. Every morning, Diep arrived early to water the small garden behind their office, a habit she never abandoned, no matter how busy she became. "Plants don't grow faster just because you rush them," she said once, smiling at James. "They need patience, just like dreams." James watched her with quiet admiration. He had seen many people chase success with greed and shortcuts, but Diep was different. She built slowly, carefully, with heart. And maybe that was what made her special. She didn't just want to win, she wanted to grow. One evening, when the office lights were dim, James sat reviewing the new partnership papers. Something caught his eye. A clause had been changed in the supply agreement. It was subtle, almost invisible, but dangerous. The name John appeared at the bottom of the revised terms, hidden behind another company name. His blood ran cold. "He's back," he muttered. John, their old enemy, the man who once destroyed James's previous company, had found a way to infiltrate their new deal. If they signed it, DJ Company would lose control of their distribution network. It was a trap. James immediately called Diep. "We can't sign this contract. There's something wrong." She rushed in minutes later, hair still damp from the rain outside, her eyes full of worry. They read through the document together in silence. Finally, Diep looked up and said softly, "So he's still watching us, waiting for us to fall again." James clenched his fists. "Not this time." For the next few days, they worked side by side, rechecking every document, every agreement, calling every supplier personally. They even went to the supermarket's head office to explain the situation face to face. It was exhausting. Days turned into nights, but they refused to give up. At one point, Diep's mother called, her voice warm but concerned. "My dear, you sound tired. Don't forget to eat." Diep smiled through the phone. "I will, Mama. We're just making sure our dream doesn't fall apart." By the end of that week, the truth was out. John's fake company had been caught manipulating the documents. The supermarket canceled the shady deal and decided to keep DJ Company as their direct supplier. When James told Diep the news, she didn't cheer or cry. She just leaned back in her chair and whispered, "Thank God." James looked at her, admiration filling his chest. "You saved us again." Diep smiled faintly. "No, we saved each other." That night, the two of them sat outside under a half-moon sky. The soft sound of crickets filled the air. James handed her a cup of tea, and for a while, they didn't talk. They just listened, to the quiet, to the peace they had earned. Then, gently, James said, "You know, Diep, whether we fail or succeed, I think I've already found what I was looking for." She turned to him, curious. "What is that?" He smiled, tired, but full of warmth. "Someone who never runs away when things get hard." Diep's eyes softened. "Then maybe that's the real meaning of success." And in that moment, under the silver light of the moon, the storms of the past finally began to fade. Life doesn't reward those who have the easiest path. It rewards those who keep walking even when their feet bleed. James into Diep's journey was never about becoming rich or powerful. It was about learning how to build, fall, and rise again without losing themselves in the process. Their story teaches that love is not a decoration for success. It's the foundation that allows people to face failure without fear. When everything seemed to crumble, it wasn't money or reputation that saved them, but faith in each other, in their shared dream, and in the belief that honesty and effort always find a way to bloom. To Diep proved that a woman from a humble background can become a leader, not because she was born to win, but because she refused to stop trying. James learned that strength isn't in control or pride, but in patience and kindness, the quiet courage to support someone even when you're falling apart yourself. Together, they turned pain into lessons, and lessons into light. Every sleepless night, every tear, every argument, all became part of a greater truth, that success means nothing if it costs you the people who stood beside you when you had nothing. And so, their love became more than just romance. It became a promise that no matter how harsh the world becomes, they would never stop believing in simple things, a shared meal, a warm smile, and the quiet comfort of knowing someone is waiting for you at home. Because in the end, true success is not measured by wealth or fame. It's measured by the hearts you keep and the love that keeps you standing.